Hey Weather Warriors, welcome to this video. In this video I'm talking about a mega storm that's currently blowing up over the central western United States, and that's expected to track into the East Coast and deliver a slight chance at least at a nor'easter for this region. I'm going to talk about the storm's life cycle, the track timing, snowfall amounts, and we're going to use a really cool website that I found for this channel. I'm going to kind of show you how these processes are evolving. Now, before we begin, click the subscribe button below if you want daily forecast updates, extreme weather event breakdowns, long-range forecasts, much more detail than you would see on TV. And share this with a friend if they're impacted by the storm. So let's get right into it here. Now, what website I'm using is windy.com. Now, I've seen this before, but I decided to use it because it's actually kind of cool, and I can kind of show you visually what's going on in the atmosphere here for this channel. Now, what we're looking at here is the 300 millibar jet stream. So it's essentially near the jet stream, and your core of your trough is right here. This is the upper levels, this is the jet stream, and what you get is when you get a very fast-moving jet stream like this, you're going to get a very strong, powerful storm system, especially if there's good divergence and tilt to it. And you got that tilt and you got that divergence. You see how the winds are starting to diverge here. See how they're kind of stretching out. There's a lot of vorticity that comes back into this as well, and that's going to create a low pressure at the surface. The jet stream is essentially stretching the air out. So you have to get something that fills it at the surface, and that's how your low pressure system forms. Your air gets sucked up at the surface. So expect a low pressure system to kind of form in that region right here. Now, this is the area the big storm is developing. So I kind of went back in time a little bit, and I'm going to fast forward this as it goes into the eastern United States. I'm going to show you the pressure at the surface. So you have the jet stream. Now these lines are showing the pressure at the surface, and there's your low pressure system. So it lines up perfectly right there, and your isobar is kind of around that. So your surface winds are actually out of the south following those isobars, and your upper levels are kind of out of the southwest. So you got some wind shear. So that's going to be something to watch as this thing tracks into the plains. Now, we're going to turn this pressure back off. I'm going to show you the jet stream, and we're going to kind of get closer to now. And as you can see, Friday, Saturday, you can see this jet stream moves into the plains. Sunday, you can see it. You get this closed off type of look. Look at that right there. So that's very indicative when you get a closed off look of a very powerful storm system. If you look at the pressure now, at the surface pressure, so I turn that back on, you can see it stacked right near on top of this. It used to be over here, kind of in the divergence zone. Well, it was over here, but you get the point. When these storm systems occlude, they'll get kind of wrapped back into the main upper level low, and they'll get stacked off. That usually means the storm system will eventually fill in and start to weaken, but it doesn't happen for a while. It's usually delayed. So as this starts to close off, that's usually when your storm system's the strongest, which means the plains typically are going to get slammed on this. Now, this storm system might cycle as it gets to the east coast and redevelop kind of right off the coast where there's very warm waters. So we've got to watch out for that, very warm waters. And because of that, you might get the storm system to kind of recycle, form back, where there's divergence a little bit farther south, and be over here, and potentially redevelop out in the coast. That's something we're watching that's very finicky and can change really hour to hour. So we'll have to watch that. As we track this jet stream and low pressure system out into the day on Sunday at 1 a.m., you can see it moves into the plains, and the jet stream, or into the Midwest, towards Michigan. But look at this now. Okay, so here's your upper level low. Your colored is your upper level low, and your low pressure system's over here. You're going to kind of see this redevelop, and you can kind of see it's right over the jet stream again. So we might get some redevelopment here over on the coast. Decent jet stream, decent divergence. This is Monday. As we head towards Tuesday, you can see that low pressure system starting to get stronger again, right in that area of divergence right here. So Monday and Tuesday, definitely got to watch the East Coast. Now watch what happens again as we head towards Tuesday and Wednesday, or Monday into Tuesday. You can see that low pressure system starts to line up again with the jet stream. Still not quite there, but it'll close off again and eventually weaken. So you can kind of see that life cycle of those low pressure systems. So Monday, Tuesday, definitely something to watch over in the coast. Now, I'm going to turn off the upper levels, and we'll go down to the surface now, and we can look at the wind speeds with this system. We'll look at that later. Actually, what I'm going to look at for now is the precipitation. So we'll turn on the precipitation and show you the storm system and its precip. So this is kind of cool. We'll go back to like Saturday here, and we'll go right here on Saturday. And you can kind of go back and forth in time with these maps, so they're kind of cool. We'll track this thing out into the East Coast. And this is the GFS, which is pretty similar to the Euro, been pretty consistent. Try to find a zoom view that works. And here it is. Here's your low pressure system. This is very low. Probably dealing with a 980, 970s type of low pressure system. The little white flakes here are going to be your snow. And then you're going to see lightning strikes form, which are thunderstorms. You don't see them yet, but you'll see them form soon here. Now, the isobars, you see the winds. The winds are these little lines right here, the moving lines, and you can kind of see how they line up with the isobars. They kind of cross a little bit, and that's due to the Coriolis force, which is another topic for another day. But nonetheless, it kind of curves the winds a little bit. But they kind of generally follow the isobars and get sucked into this low pressure system. So you got high pressure kind of over here, and over here that'd be a low pressure over there. You have a high right here because your counterclock or your clockwise flow is going to go around high pressure, and your counterclockwise flow is going to go around low pressure. When you get high pressures on two sides of a low, you're going to get a lot of this high pressure that flows into the low pressure system, and you're going to get a really strong pressure gradient, which can increase winds and really increase the storm system altogether. So this is Friday. As we track this out to Saturday around 5 a.m. Central Time, nice little pocket of rain out here. Thunderstorms as well. So thunderstorms overnight on Friday in Oklahoma and Arkansas, potentially severe, which we'll look at in a second. But this is going to get sucked into this low here. You can see all those. Your warm front's probably going to be, cold front's going to be right along this kink in those isobars. Warm front going to be kind of probably right there where you have the south winds, and they kind of switch to the southeast a little bit. They back along that front. And then plenty of snow behind this. You're probably talking blizzard conditions. We'll look at the wind here in a second. As we head towards Saturday, this is around Saturday at 3 p.m., 2 p.m., you can see this mega storm really, really cranking. Very strong winds now. Lots of snow all the way into Nebraska, Montana, all the way out into the Dakotas. Storms, potentially some severe storms, heading into the southeastern United States. Now I'm going to turn on the wind real quick. Go up to this wind icon and look at the surface winds here. Take a zoomed in view into western Nebraska here. Your surface winds are maxing out around 30 to 40 knots. You can see a 40 knot symbol right there, which is even more in mile per hour world. Okay, so 40 knots is, you times that by 1.15, and that's, that'll be your miles per hour. So yeah, probably 40 to 55 miles per hour out in that area. So very strong winds. Whoops, try to keep that still there. But yeah, nonetheless, what's weird is when you zoom in, it zooms in twice. So I don't know what that deal is right there. But nonetheless, you got some extremely strong winds. As we head towards Saturday night now, around 10 p.m., very, very strong. What I'm going to do is turn on the precipitation again. And you can see this system now is really, really starting to shear out a little bit. But you get that very strong cold front over here. Probably a warm front kind of extending down there, and then an occlusion behind it. Your cold front and your warm front meet right around here, and when that happens, the fronts kind of zip up, so it kind of zips up. The cold front will catch up to the warm front and zip up, and you get an occlusion. When that starts happening, the low pressure system will begin the weakening phase. Okay, but it can redevelop. You can get another low pressure system farther south that redevelops, but nonetheless, it's still very strong. You're still going to get very strong winds behind this thing. Very nice looking blizzard. This is a very widespread look to it. The one concern is people in Iowa and Minnesota and the Dakotas might be dealing with some dry air, especially the eastern Dakotas. There's a very strong dry punch that moves into the system in the mid-levels, around 700 millibars, and that will shut off the snow potential for Iowa and Nebraska pretty quick. You might get some wraparound snow on the backside, but because this low pressure system's weakening, the snow will be kind of light and spotty in Nebraska and Iowa. So the timing just isn't perfect for that area, but nonetheless, northern parts of Dakotas and Minnesota and even perhaps Wisconsin, very, very impressive. As we track this out into the day on Sunday, kind of weakens a little bit, so not overly impressive, but very large, still a very, very massive storm system here. It's going to be fun to watch this thing on radar, so you're going to see a bunch of swirling going on. Just because of how large and powerful this thing is. But like I said, there's a lot of dry air it's dealing with right now. It's just generally kind of spreading out and weakening. It's so probably not a whole lot of heavy snow. But watch what happens out here in the East Coast as we head towards Monday. We're going to zoom in just a bit. Look at that new low pressure system that develops. Your old one kind of dying out over here, but then you get a new one over here. Your cold front's kind of out here. So you get a new one to develop along the cold front, warm front intersection. So a new low pressure system develops, very strong winds out ahead of it and precipitation as well. And then got some ice up here and snow. But this is the area so you got some bonus snow from the old low pressure system. As this storm system moves in Sunday into Monday, you might get a brief period of snow and ice in the northeastern United States. But the secondary area we want to watch is Monday into Tuesday. This is where it's a little more uncertain, but this is going to change from time to time because this is a very finicky little tiny thing. But because there's water out here that's very warm, and because this is a new low pressure system, the threat for a very powerful little area of lift near and northeast of this low pressure system early on, with these low pressure systems, your best area for snow lift and heavy snow is going to be on the northeast side. Sometimes it'll transition to the north and east side of the system, but early on it's going to be the northwest side over here. So that's what we're watching as we head towards Monday and Tuesday, and you can see this low pressure system developing. Now, it's starting to develop a little bit more, very strong rain and storm systems out ahead of it on Monday. As we head towards Tuesday, this thing starts to get cranking on Tuesday, or Monday at 2 to 3 p.m., and you can see the low pressure system right along the coast here, and more snow here along the coast behind it. So if this thing can blow up and develop fast enough and early enough, that's going to substantially increase the threat for snow in the East Coast. If it's a little bit later and it's a little bit faster moving, it's going to be obviously off the coast. Because there's warm waters here, the threat for rapid cyclogenesis or bombogenesis is a little bit higher than usual. I'm not seeing it yet on these models, but because this trough is so strong, this long wave and short wave that comes off, it's so strong, we definitely have to watch the threat of that. You combine that with the warm waters and stuff. But nonetheless, very strong storm system out here in the East Coast could deliver at least a few inches, maybe several inches in some areas. It really gets cranking here as we head towards Tuesday around 3 a.m. or so. Here's your low pressure system. Kind of just sits a little bit and moves a little bit farther north. So if this thing can kind of track a little bit further north, I mean, it's really perfect where it's at right now for the north or the East Coast. Your strongest area of lift is going to be kind of right in this region right here. So folks like New York, all the way up to Maine, you're under the gun here. So this is Tuesday. As we head towards 10 a.m. on Tuesday, even more organization. So this thing's really starting to organize. You see a nice band of snow, deformation band here on the northeast side of the system. You can kind of see it starting to move to the east just a little bit. And I've been saying northeast, I meant northwest side of the system in the northeastern United States. That's what I meant there. But you can see this tracks, and then it kind of eventually weakens as we head towards Wednesday. So it's, like I said, that upper level system starts to weaken a little bit. The whole system starts to weaken by Wednesday, but Monday and Tuesday definitely under the gun in that region right there. Now, winds, like I said, were pretty strong. We'll go back and see how strong the winds are with this thing. And, overall, weaker than what it was on the plains. It wasn't as strong, but nonetheless, you're going to get a good 15 to 25 miles an hour, I would assume, behind it, especially near the low pressure system as it's developing right along the coast there. So very impressive. We're going to look at snowfall amounts in a second here. One thing I'm going to look at is the severe weather here on Saturday. And Friday, obviously, there's been severe weather in Oklahoma and Kansas. What I want to look at is the severe weather on Tuesday here, or Saturday in the southeastern United States. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the instability. So this is the CAPE index. Go back in time just a bit here. Saturday at 3 p.m., you can see just a little bit of instability down here. You combine that with a very strong jet stream, and and you're going to get severe weather potentially. So you kind of where those things overlap. And it's kind of going to be in this region right here on Saturday. Obviously, Friday, been out there. Saturday, it's going to be a little bit farther south and eastward into that region right there. So the threat for some hail and winds is definitely there. We'll go into 4 p.m., 6 p.m., and then 1 a.m. The instability is going to weaken at night because you don't have the sunlight heating. And then as we head towards Sunday, not a ton of instability, but maybe parts of Florida. You could see a couple thunderstorms then. But overall, severe weather threat's going to be confined for the southern U.S. With this system. And then obviously Oklahoma and Texas there on Friday. So we'll look at the snowfall amounts, and this is kind of cool as well. They do have snowfall on here, and let's see if we turn this on. Just go up to, we got rainfall, snowfall, depth. Should be a snow depth layer somewhere on here. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. Look at rain and thunder. It's probably under there. There it is. So snow depth and new snow. So I think new snow is going to be, so this is my first time really using this on the website. So this is 3 days worth of snow. Okay. We'll go 10 days worth. So this is out, really covers the entire system. And it's kind of really what this model is forecasting for snow. Obviously in the northern plains, here's your diagram right here. And it's kind of harder to read. I like pivotal weather better with the snowfall amounts, but these are cool when you're looking at the low pressure systems kind of moving around. You can see plenty of snow out here in the plains. In the green, you're talking 4+ inches. So, and the yellow, actually, the yellow on this particular map is darn near 20 inches. Now, I think that's a little overdone, but parts of the plains here with this dynamic, powerful low pressure system, I would definitely look at, 10 to 15 inches in some of these areas, especially in the Dakotas. And then the storm system kind of has a second burst up here as you head towards northern parts of Wisconsin, eastern Michigan, and the Great Lakes. Maybe a patch of a foot up there as well. So very, very powerful amounts of snow. Again, some areas receiving more than that. You can actually see the numbers here. Marquette at 21.9 inches. At our highest amount. And then obviously some of these areas out here in that 12-inch range. The GFS has been doing pretty well this winter with the snowfall amounts. Usually I'd say that's overestimated, but really, if anything, some of these amounts they've actually underestimated. So good kind of change to see for once. And as you go towards the northeastern United States over the next 10 days, you get your little low pressure system, and you can kind of see it redevelop. So this area in the Midwest, going to be dealing with dry air out here, kind of out in this region, and then also weakening phase out here in the Midwest as you head towards the Great Lakes. But it's going to re-strengthen, like I said, off the coast, and potentially deliver a nice little patch of snow here for the northeastern United States. You can see amounts in the 7 all the way to 12 inches or so near Albany, maybe even more than that. So I'd say that classifies as a decent snowstorm, maybe even a nor'easter there for parts of New York, all the way to Massachusetts, especially in that area right there where that low pressure system develops right off the coast. Again, you're going to have a period where there's a very heavy band of snow that develops somewhere near the coast. If it can get on track in time and develop in time, that will include parts of the Northeast right along the coast where you could see a quick foot of snow in that region. If there's rapid cyclogenesis involved, obviously amounts could be enhanced even more. Now, the European computer model, I believe you can see, this is what we're looking at right now, and that's its forecasted snow. What we're going to look at is the GFS, and we'll check that out real quick. Zoom back in. And the GFS is a little bit less bullish on the snow farther south, but it is much better for Maine. So it's a little bit farther north with that. And you can see Maine 12 to 14 inches. Really the best area, I've been tracking this for a few days here, the most confident area appeared to be right in this region right here for snowfall. So GFS a little bit farther north, but really looking good for New Hampshire and Massachusetts at the moment into the southeastern parts of Maine. So that's the GFS, and then the GFS for the Midwest, a little bit farther north with this entire system as well. You can see your best corridor of snow is in this region. Again, there's a period of dry air that kicks into the system, and that's going to temper or kind of weaken the snowfall amounts for parts of Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, the eastern Dakotas, up, and of course, all the way up into north central Minnesota on this particular one. And then obviously out here, you're dealing with a good decent snowstorm, 6 to 12 inches out there. So with that, you combine that, and you combine the 30 to 40 mile an hour winds, some areas even more. You got blizzard conditions. Like I said, I had this area highlighted at a 4 out of 10. And blizzard potential was, very high as well. So looking like a blizzard out there. We'd probably want a little bit faster circulation out here for a blizzard out in the northeastern United States. But nonetheless, a snowstorm looks to be on tap out there. The details are going to change a lot. And there's going to be little very isolated areas here. And that's not going to be resolved till the day of. With these types of system, especially with a new developing low pressure system where you get convective banding, especially with those warm waters, you're going to want to look at the forecast the day of or 12 hours in advance using the HRR model. And we'll definitely look into making some updates there. And somewhere over here, if things come together and develop right, you could see some isolated higher amounts in those bandings. So that's you're going to be your snowfall amounts. And I think one other thing I thought was cool to look at here is the air pressure at the surface. And we're going to go back a little bit here on Saturday. And you can just see how powerful the system is. Okay, kind of you compare that to your high out here. So you can just visually see very powerful storm system. Again, this is going to equate to about in the 980s to 970s out here when the low pressure system's out here. And so very, very low pressure. Very untypical that you get something that low, but you can see this thing track to the east, and then you can kind of see it redevelop out there. So pretty cool there. And again, this is a mega storm that really just tracked across the entire United States with that bowling ball type of upper level disturbance. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Again, share this with a friend. Comment below. If you like this website, if you want me to do more videos like this. I'm kind of experimenting with some new data sources. We're going to have a lot more on this channel. I've got some new things planned, so that I think will be really cool with some data, model data, forecast data, and stuff like that. That you'll be see rolling out in December and January. So stay tuned to that. Subscribe if you like this. If you're new to this channel and like these videos, go much more in depth. And hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you soon.